Hi guys, it's Jamie here. Welcome to day 9 of the Junk Journal July challenge. Yeah, got that right. Okay, so today's prompt is pattern, and as you know, I'm trying to make them personal to me. And with the envelope prompt, I was talking about my front garden and how the only thing I've planted in it is a lot of lavender, a lot of lavender to encourage the bees. A pattern could be a honeycomb pattern. I couldn't decide whether I'm just going to stencil the honeycomb on or create a relief and then maybe even do some ink pour or paint pour. But I looked at the paper, which is watercolour paper, and thought, well, the first place to start anyway is not having white paper. So I got out my coffee spray and we're just going to see what this does when I hit this with a bit of coffee to age it. Oh, it smells nice anyway. And then I'm going to have to let that dry and then decide what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for a second layer. I do like the effect so far, but I want to see how much we can get that sort of rusticy look. I'm not saying that the finished piece is going to be rustic, just that that's the background I'd like. I think if you watch my videos for any length of time, you realise that I have zero idea of what I'm doing and I am genuinely a complete beginner. And hopefully that's part of the fun. I do watch other people's videos, but by the time I come round to trying something they showed, normally I've completely and utterly forgotten what they did and I don't remember where to go find it. I'm going to have another go at watercolours. Every time I do watercolour, I end up throwing it in the bin. I'm hoping it doesn't happen today. So what I was thinking was I might try and do acrylic pour, but I want different levels of honeycomb. So I'm going to try watercolouring some honeycomb on one side and then doing some relief work on the other. And we'll just see how that turns out. I was really pleased with yesterday's. I wasn't so pleased with the 2 days before that. I'm keeping them anyway because I think it's all part of the process of learning, that I'm not necessarily always going to get it right or get a result I like. That seems really deep to me. I'm assuming that just needs some more water. Now, would you just spray that on, or would you just, what would you do to loosen that up a bit? I'm liking the coffee background to this, and I'm hoping this works. If I just sort of work some water into this, I'm not really sure. I've never, like I say, I've played with oil paints in Shanghai for a couple of years, and maybe the first year I got back to the UK, but I have never attempted watercolour until recently. I've always thought of watercolour as you've got to be a better artist to use watercolour. Whereas oil, to me, oil paint is very forgiving because you can just use a palette knife and keep going until you get something that vaguely resembles what you want. I didn't feel like I needed to mix any colours, thank goodness, for the colour I wanted. It seemed like, I think this is burnt ochre. Let's have a quick look. Oh, it doesn't say on here. Oh, yes, it does. Yellow ochre. I felt it was the right colour and the colour I was looking for anyway. I don't want them all the same shading. I do want that watercolour effect where some things are a bit different to others. Maybe getting lighter going this way. I mean, that's been an immediate artistic decision based on the fact that it's getting lighter going this way. I think that's the point about art that I didn't get when I was younger. You just play and then see what happens. Right, shall we reveal that and see whether that's worked? Ooh, sort of. It's a bit of a puddly mess, but I think there's ways around that when that dries. Then I don't know if this is correct or not, but I'm going to throw over some clear gesso before I do the texture gel. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but I don't want the watercolour getting affected, so I'm hoping by clear gessoing it I will keep this in place, and then whatever I do on top, that won't move. I don't know if that's right or not. We will find out. It's beginning to look like leopard print. Well, the good thing about watercolours, unlike oil paints, is they dry very quickly. If this had been an oil painting, we'd be doing days apart filming. Let's see what happens if we add this. Will it all smear or will it hold its own? Who knows? Big experiment number 1 of the day. Seems to be holding its own. Good stuff. Right, we know that works. Right, with the texture gel, the only one I got was a medium. It's meant to be white. It never looks white to me. I don't know if I want to go down the middle or if I want to go to the side. Maybe a bit down the middle and then more to the side. I'm not really sure. I have no plan for this. Let's be honest. Oh, I've used a lot of this already. Mostly on failed projects, one has to say. That I kept for a day or two and then went, no, definitely failed. Right, let's just see what happens. I'm not going to do it everywhere, just randomly, I think. Because that's what artists do, isn't it? They do random bits. Then you have to, what I've seen, and I do remember people doing, is remove this really quickly, run away and wash it before it ruins your stencil. So I'm going to go off camera in a minute, but let's remove this and see what's happened. Oh yes. This is going to take a little while to dry. So what I'm going to do is I've had another idea. So I am going to quickly coffee spray up a little bit more paper. I don't know if I'm going to use this idea, but I might as well, because that's got to dry anyway. I might as well do this anyway. And I might just flick some yellow on there as well while it's wet and get some of this and just sort of spot it on here like that. A bit more. I may not use this idea in the end, but there's no harm in having something prepared in case I love it. A bit more on this one. Oh, going over my desk now. That's all right, it's watercolour. It'll come off. Oh, I'm getting quite violent now. Quite liking that. Maybe I should do it on that anyway. Or should I leave that to the end? No, let's just throw some on there now. Everything's got to dry anyway, so might as well have fun with it. Happy with that, happy with that. More drying time. I think what I'm going to do now is probably, I don't want these as white as they are, so I could either coffee stain them or maybe try just adding some of this. I'm not sure which is going to be best, so let's go with this. I don't know what anyone else has been up to today. I have, because the England match was last night, basically I drank quite a bit of Prosecco and I have not been feeling well until about now. And it's 10 o'clock at night, which proves that when you're older, well, certainly in my case, you cannot cope with excessive amounts of alcohol. Just wondering if I want to spray some of this. But I'm also liking the fact these are now quite dark, so if I spray them I'm going to take it off, aren't I? I'm trying to get through this as quickly as possible so you can see what I'm doing without getting too bored. Let's just give it a spray and see what happens, and if I don't like it, I don't like it. And I'll just do it again. I'm hoping what will happen is it will stay on the raised bits but sort of dribble down the page a bit like that. So it kind of did happen as I wanted. This one's still white. Must have missed it, or it's just sprayed off completely, one or the other. I think now, because I don't want to lose all the colour from that, I will leave that and more drying time. We are good to go on the next stage, which is to add, a lot of bling. I was going to say a bit of bling. I think I've just put a bit too much into that. Let's just, this is an acrylic, a metallic acrylic, but if you mix acrylic down, you get a watercolour consistency. Acrylic can act as either an oil paint or as a watercolour or as its own thing. they dry quicker than oils if you're going to use them as oil paints, which is why I never did, because I needed the time to play and manipulate things. What I was going to do was see if I can get it to dribble. Maybe I'm going to have to spray it down this, like go round it a bit, maybe. Ooh, just got some other things, not the gold. Ooh, damn. Oops, not quite what I intended to do. I wanted to get the gold dribbling down, not everything else. I might have to gesso this before I attempt any more. Although it's quite nice just using this as without the dribble, just like catching bits. I don't know. It wasn't my intended plan, but then most of these things do not go according to my intended plan, so we're not going to worry too much about what I intended to do. I think I might have to just bring some of this in. At least we're getting some shading. Just a little bit on there, I think, as I've done it on most of them. Right, more dry time, but I think this time, while that's drying, maybe I can try what I was going to do. This is already dried. What I was going to do on this, which was I have some new bee stamps. And I was thinking of just stamping one bee, like one bee, with ink, and then fussy cutting around it. And then when all of this is dry, layering it on top. I'm not quite sure if I gesso this, whether it's going to splodge everywhere or not. This is a traditional bee. I have got some cartoon ones as well, actually, because I kind of like that. Oh, is he even going to fit? I'm going to have to do him that way. Ooh. Ooh. He's going to have to be a sort of angled bee. Oh, wow. For ink stamp cleaning, obviously it is good to use soapy water, but the other option is to just use baby wipes to get the majority of any residue off it. This is still wet. This is now dry, but probably just going to be kept for other projects. I think this is now dry and to be kept for other projects, so I might gesso those because that will protect them while I'm here, not because this is going to be used now, just because it's a useful thing to do whilst this is all out and the brush is out, etc. I didn't really get the gold effect I wanted on that. I wanted like slithers of gold, but thinking about it, I've got some gold leaf. So maybe if I'm going to put a layer of gesso on that, maybe I could use the gesso as a bit of a glue and just randomly attach a bit of shiny gold leaf. Not real gold leaf, fake gold leaf. And that might get the effect that I was hoping for. I want some more depth in that though, so I might try and put a little bit of black through that and a bit more shading before I attempt any gold leafing. I've never gold leafed in my life either, so yet more new things going on this video. Lots of new things that I'm learning about. Right, should we risk it? Oh, he didn't smudge. That's good. So if I wanted to colour him in now, when that's dry, I could use pencils or pastels, whatever, and actually colour him in. I probably won't because I think the stained paper is enough. And I'm not going to fussy cut him. I might just tear around him. I should have probably done him slightly lower on the paper because it would have been easier to tear. Right, I will be back when everything here has dried. I used the air dryer on this and it seems to have taken it a bit darker. I don't find that unpleasant though. I just didn't want to wait, basically. I'm now going to try doing just a little bit of black, just to create some shadow, and see how that goes. I don't want much though, so I'm going to try and keep that very limited and not use too much of this. Get lots of water. I don't want it too thick, far from it. And then, yeah, even more maybe. I think you can always add more if it's not doing what I want it to do. So I was just going to, yeah, I might need to add a bit more. Come in and put a little bit of maybe some water now. Try and encourage that to maybe run down a little bit. Maybe I do need the spray. I just don't want to spray the brown again. You know, I want to try and keep that in place now, because every time I was spraying before I was getting the brown to run a little bit, and I didn't want that. And being as delicate as possible to get this sort of, I don't know what it is, a cracked effect. I mean, obviously it's not very bee-like, but there, that's beginning to make it run, isn't it? Just put a bit more at the top there. Oops, didn't want to go on that. Ooh, getting a dribble going down. I can always block that off a little bit if I don't like it. I'm not going to tip it quite as much now, because although I want it to run, oops, didn't mean to do that. I don't want it to run as much as it is. I want to concentrate a bit of black up here, where I'm struggling to get the darkness. Probably leave it at that. Obviously I've got a little bit of blotting up to do now. Would have thought maybe a baby wipe would actually get rid of that, but also could just keep going with this. Or tear this paper a bit more before I add it with that effect, which I'm not really. So I might just tear that. So you have more torn paper than currently, but obviously I'm not going to do that yet. Just feel like it shouldn't have gone on here as much as it did. Try and get a bit of this on here. I really wanted it mainly in the cracks. Obviously it's going to go on this a little bit, but if I can bring that up a bit without smudging the black into this too much, that'll be awesome. This is the gold acrylic. Oh, I'm probably turning it green now. Got to be careful. I don't know much about colour theory, so I have to be really, really careful that I don't overplay my hand here and end up with a smudgy mess, which is more than likely. I would love it to be just a little bit more here, but I don't think until that dries I can do that. So I need that to dry next. What I'm going to do now is just throw a little bit of this burnt umber down in a different area to the black. I didn't like how dark the black ended up being, so I have wetted it down and let it run off a little bit. And I did that off camera. I just basically forgot to turn the camera on, so I'm sorry about that. But let's get this burnt umber and just see if we can get something going sort of this area that's nice. I think we just concentrate on putting it up there maybe and letting it find its own way. I don't want to overdo it, because I think that's what happened with the black. It got a little bit overdone, but you do want to sort of bring out the shapes. I wasn't going to do the burnt umber this side, but I'm fancying almost turning it this way now and getting it to perhaps run this way as well as down. I don't know if that was a good move or not, we'll see. Yeah, you see, I think that's much better with the black now. The black was a little harsh, but now we've added some brown in, the black doesn't seem so out of place. And I love the way it's sort of dripping off the ends now. I don't mind that. Initially I didn't want it to do that, but now I'm quite liking it. In fact, so much so I might get it to do it here as well. Look at that. I think that's looking rather yum. Might just create a bit of a frame up here, a bit of a darker edge. Okay. I mean, how much this reminds me of, it does remind me of bees. How much this reminds me of my garden, I have no idea, but I do like this sort of creeping effect of the brown over here. I'm losing some of this. I might come in and do some inking or something with the stencil once we've got these cracks on over the top. Oh, that's rather pretty. If only the gold would run quite so prettily. It doesn't though. I think maybe you need the alcohol inks for that, and I don't have any. It's beginning to take shape. I'm really not sure about this bee now, whether the bee's going to look out of place. I mean, do we kind of try and get the bee to have a similar effect, maybe? Like, you know, see if we can get this running over the bee. This bee may not be going on here, by the way. Actually, let's spritz that. Maybe that's the way to get the be to work in tandem with everything, is to make it similar. I don't know, maybe slightly too dark here. This really is just playing until I get some kind of effect. Let's let that dry as well and see how I feel about that when it's dried. I think that works better though if we're going to add it to here, that it kind of goes with it a little bit more now. Dry time again. I think this is dry enough. So this has been lost, what we did earlier with the stencil. So I'm going to try again, and I'm going to go in with the orange, then the mid, and then the pale, and just see what happens. And I am possibly, I suppose I don't want to risk doing it too heavy, so maybe use these first and see how that looks. And then if I don't like it, going a bit heavier. No, that's okay. That's okay. I wanted to have the honeycomb in 2 different dimensions, flat and then 3D, and I think that will achieve it. Obviously I should stop lifting it up really, and then get the next colour, see if I can line that up a little bit. And then the next colour, I'm trying to get watercolour effect but using ink stamps. I don't know if that's possible or not. And then the next colour, and then we'll lift it up and see what's happened. So this is the, oh, it looks quite luminous, this one. I will be covering up that accidental black mark. Let's have a look, see if that's achieved anything. Oh yeah, I mean, it looks like spots more than honeycomb, but it has achieved something, hasn't it? You could outline it with a bit of black to make them look like honeycomb, but I think I'm going to leave that and not do that. It's basically dry already, not fully, but basically. So I have gel pen and I have pencil. So what's it to be? Just lay that on top of some of these and then just create some hexagonals. Suppose we could start with pencil, and if I don't like that, then go on to a bit of, oh, that's felt tip. Start with pencil and then she pulls a felt tip. Pencil. Where's the brown? There. And if I don't like the look of the pencil, then move on to the gel. I don't know if you have to do it all or a bit of it or what. Maybe some whole, some not so whole. Well, that's the first time that's happened. Probably won't be the last, but my battery ran out. So there's a whole chunk of video missing. And I didn't realise. I'm going to have to just talk you through what I've done, and I apologise. I felt this was too dark and grungy, so I added some of this rose coloured, really, gold leaf. It's not as gold as I would have liked. I would have preferred it slightly more yellow. I've created the little bee and just highlighted in with white gel pen. I've taken some white gesso over these bits because I thought they were looking a bit grungy. And I had started and flicked a bit of gesso over here and rubbed in a little bit to lighten this area. And I had started to work with the gel pen on just edging these hexagonals when I realised that the video wasn't videoing. I don't know if I'm achieving what I want to achieve anymore, or whether I'm just trying to get the result I was looking for, because it all turned a bit, you know, my colour mixing theory isn't up to much, and it all turned a bit mushy and gungy looking. And these aren't really looking like hexagonals, and I do want them to look hexagonal like, because that's what honeycomb is. So I'm just working on putting some stronger lines in to give you an impression of the shape, and I'm hoping that'll work and not look odd. I won't know till I sit back from it whether that's worked or whether it looks bizarre. Nearly finished that run, and hopefully it's lightened it, and it's, I don't mind grunge. I love grunge actually. I'm an ex-goth, but it's not the look I was looking for with this one. Oh, I don't know. It's beginning to look very Moon and Stars now to me. It's got that sort of rune feeling. Oh, I don't know where I'm going with this anymore. A bit like the Wanderlust, where I started to work with the gel pens a lot on the Wanderlust. I think I'm going to end up doing something very similar here to try and get these. See, the reason I wanted to run the gold leaf through it, I think this is too wet, even though it's dry. The reason I wanted to run the gold leaf through this bit was to... has this run out? Have I used this and damaged it? No. Because I wanted it to look like the honey was like dribbling down here, but I don't think anything I'm doing is really showing up, so I'm not really sure where to take this now. That's almost too white, isn't it? I feel like I've been working on this for hours. Well, I have been working on this for hours, but of course some of it is no longer videoed, so that's probably a relief. As a editing exercise, it's going to be a task and a half as it is. Let's just see what happens if we, hoping this is relatively clean, add a very bright yellow. And if I don't like it, I don't like it. I mean, see, to me it's all sort of turning a bit grungy, but maybe not. Maybe that works better than the white. Yeah, I think it works better than the white anyway, so that's something, isn't it? The white was a nice idea, but I don't think it really worked. It worked on the Travel Wanderlust one though, really did. Looked great on that. If you haven't checked that video out, do check that video out. Out of everything I've done for this challenge, I think that's my favourite so far. And the Venice Beach one, which I think was pretty early on actually. So I'm obviously not improving with practice. You're meant to improve with practice, but obviously not in my case. The last couple I've really not liked. I've posted them anyway because I think the whole point of this channel is to demonstrate not just that I'm a beginner, but you are allowed to have bad days and bad results and, you know, stuff that you don't love, and it's all part of learning what works and what doesn't work. I really must learn colour theory though, because that's proving to be a bit of a downfall. Does that look too luminous, or is that okay? Let's try mixing these two together and see what happens. See what colour we get. Is it still quite luminous? Yeah, it's still not quite the colour I wanted. This is filthy. Where's a bit of cloth? I'll shove it in here, see what happens. Why do I keep feeling like I'm getting a green? I shouldn't be getting green. I don't think I'm mixing colours that make green. Is it just my eyesight that's seeing these yellows as green? Is anyone else seeing this as like greenish? Just like tone it down a bit? I don't know. Do you ever get to that point with a piece of art where you just want to kind of give up? Because I think I'm getting there. That's too brown, isn't it? That's got black in it. I'll tell you what, I'm going to mix it on here. It all just got a bit too dark. I don't mind if it's running because it's watercolour, it should run. Obviously I'm losing the shape again, but shall I just run this down the page and see what happens? Maybe. Just splash it. This is what you call desperate to produce something. Get some flicks going over this. I think that yellow is too luminous now. Oh, I'm struggling so much with this. What do you do? What do you do apart from let it dry? I am doing my best here. I'm doing my best. I'm just struggling. I knew what I wanted to achieve and I'm so close. I'm not quite sure how to bring it home. A bit like the England football team. I have been suffering from a hangover all day. I don't know if I've already mentioned that or whether that went in like when the video stopped recording. So that might be one of the problems. Let me just grab that. Is that I'm just not been feeling good. Although I actually recovered now, but it has taken basically all day and most of the night. And I've eaten vast amounts to kind of, you know, stodge up a bit, soak up the alcohol. Oh, I don't know how people drink regularly. I mean, you probably do, most people do, but I don't know how they do it. I'm going to stick him on because he covers up one error. This now needs to dry. And then I don't know, I mean, this doesn't look like honeycomb at all, but I don't know what else to do. I can get a bit of tissue paper and try and get some of this very bright yellow off. I don't know if that will work or whether it will just reveal the white again and make it all grungy again. Does that make it all grungy again, or is that, I don't know what that's doing. Just take it up here while I'm here, might as well. I think it's an improvement. It's an improvement on the white and it's an improvement on the very dark. So, and that is about as far as I'm going to go. Part of me wants to put some dark back into it now, which is daft because I've just got rid of the dark. It sort of needs the dark, but not as, or does it? I feel like it needs it to give it depth, and then part of me just thinks no, it doesn't, because that's what's making it go quite grey looking and green looking and not the colours you wanted. Or as soon as I do something, it seems to go too far. That's back to brown again, isn't it? I feel like I'm taking 2 steps forward. No, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Yellow ochre, wasn't it? Literally. Do it pure, rather than with any water in it. See if that helps. So it's got sort of a bit more intensity than the other stuff on there. I need to get rid of the luminous. I liked it and now I don't like it. Sort of sounds about right. I really liked it when I first put it on, and then I thought, you can see why I ran out of battery on my phone. It's been like this all night. Doing something, liking it, and then going, actually, I'm not sure now. I mean, the main thing for me is to get rid of this really green looking. I don't know how you get green from these colours. I'd have been so much happier doing this with oil paints. A, I haven't got any, and they're hugely expensive, and B, it would take forever to dry. And this is an everyday thing at the moment. What possessed me to do an art journal? Just because I suppose part of me was just like, well, you'd have nothing to write because life is not that exciting. I still don't quite know what possessed me to think, do an art journal. There's a luminous bit that's escaped attention. Come on. I will get you all. I'll let it dry and then I might go back over with this again. See if I can knock back that green anymore, but I think it's getting knocked back and it's beginning to get an effect that I'm okay with. I do like the background. There you go, all that work and I like the background. I've given it a day. One, it's fully dry now. I did start playing off camera again, sorry. So I've done some black lines on the bee. I've inked the edge in like an orangey brown. I've outlined where I stuck the bee down. The only thing left to do, and I wanted it to be fully dry, or to try to do, is to do this inking in the black. Let me just see if I haven't ruined my pen by doing it when it was wet, along round some of these hexagonals, because I still want them to look like hexagonals, and if this doesn't work, I give up at that point and we're going to go with it. And that's it. So it's been a hugely long process doing this pattern prompt junk journal July challenge. I don't know why it took me so long. I just seem to be very dissatisfied with the colouring, the style. It didn't look like a honeycomb. I thought it was too green, then it was too pale, then it was too luminous. It has taken the longest out of all of them, even the needlework. So there's one, I think it's details, where I did some needlework for it, and I've never done needlework before, and you'd think that would be the longest, but no, it's been this one without a shadow of a doubt. So I'm hoping after I do this, and I'm doing it everywhere, notice I'm not missing a beat, I'm not saying, oh, this bit wouldn't be shadowed. I am hoping when I've just done this tiny little finishing detail that it is done, the video can be fully edited, because it's hours long. It's not hours long when you're watching it, it's hours long in my version on my phone. And we're going to be, even with the bits missing, it's hours long. We're going to be good to go. I can get the photo done, get the cover done, and just generally move on to the next one, which hopefully will not take me as long. Just need to go around these edges, I think. I'm going to go around these edges. I wasn't going to. Well, I said I was going to do all of them, but I was going to leave this bit that goes into the thingy blank, but maybe not. Maybe just really make it all stand out. Why not? Maybe not the broken ones. Let's have a look. I think that whatever that I think I was doing there, I think that actually, look, there's a bit that I did when it was wet and it didn't take. I think that's done it. I think I have just scribbled these in. I mean, that involves no talent on my part whatsoever. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got all the ones I want to get. Let me just keep checking. Sorry. Now I'm happy. I'm actually genuinely happy with that now. I love it. I dread to think what I'm doing tonight, because I'm moving on to tonight's in a minute. Thank you for watching this incredibly long video. I'm sure it's going to be long even with editing. If you enjoyed watching this process, please subscribe, like, share, comment even. That would be awesome, because it helps my channel, and my channel's new and it needs some help for YouTube to even recognise that we're here. Okay, thank you then. Bye.